Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sharon Noble, Director of the BC Coalition to Stop Smart Meters. Welcome to the Goddard Report, Sharon.
Thank you very much, Jim. I'm happy to be here.
Sharon, what's going on with Lloyd's of London?
Well, Jim, something very interesting. About 10 years ago, Lloyd's of London, who many people will recognize as being one of the major insurance companies in the world, they're the ones that insure things that are uninsurable. You know, movie stars will insure their legs, or race car drivers will get insurance. Well, about 10 years ago, they stopped insuring any health effects that were caused by cell towers. So that if a cell tower is put up in your neighbor's yard, the neighbor will be fully responsible for any health effects if someone is sued for it. He won't be able to get insurance for it. Well, about a month ago, in fact, starting February 7th of this year, Lloyd's of London has put into all of their policies a waiver saying that they will not cover any health-related claim that's associated with RF radiation from any wireless device. That's pretty major. This means that they know that Wi-Fi, that smart meters, cell phones, before it was the companies that they wouldn't insure. They wouldn't insure the cell tower companies. Now they're not insuring anybody. They won't insure you. They won't insure, like directors' insurance at schools. Directors get insurance to protect them against people suing them for not doing their job. And the director's insurance say that we will protect you from any lawsuit so long as you are acting in good faith. Now, these directors at schools are being told that Wi-Fi can be dangerous to children, that there are studies showing that children should not be exposed to Wi-Fi. What happens when a child becomes sick? Many children are having palpitations, are having nosebleeds, are having migraines. What happens when a parent says, you are not doing your job and I'm going to sue you? They will not be protected. It's very likely they will not be protected by their director's insurance because they have not acted in good faith. Their insurance companies are going to be taking major steps because they see what Lloyd's of London has done, and the other insurance companies will follow.
They'll claim that the information was out there, that these things are harmful, and you should have known that as a director.
You were told it, especially if you were told it. We have parents who are going before school boards, who have been going before school boards for years, presenting this information. We've had experts testify before school boards. We've had experts testify to Perry Kendall, who is the driving force behind this. School boards say, well, Dr. Perry Kendall says it's safe. No, it's not, and Dr. Perry Kendall knows it's not. He is refusing to acknowledge it, and he's hiding behind Safety Code 6. But Safety Code 6 doesn't pertain to Wi-Fi in schools. Safety Code 6 does not pertain to anything that is regulated and handled by the province. So Perry Kendall and the directors cannot hide behind Safety Code 6 anymore, and neither can they be certain that the insurance will protect them. This is a major, major waiver, and it came through on February 7th, and I expect that anyone who has business insurance or group insurance that is handled with a waiver through Lloyd's of London. And Lloyd's of London is a major insurer, plus they handle parts of insurance for various risks. For instance, if there's a company out there who's worried about smart meters because they believe that they're probably causing fires, they could go to Lloyd's of London and say, we would like to share the risk with you. If we give you a portion of the premiums that we're collecting, will you please share the risk with us? That's what, and Lloyd's of London will look at the risk and say, yes or no, I won't. Right now they're saying we will not share any risks pertaining to wireless devices, the radiation from wireless devices.
No matter how high of a premium you're willing to pay.
That's right.
Wow. That says a lot when Lloyd's bails on you.
Yep. And, they've got actuaries. I worked for a large insurance company. I worked with actuaries. Insurance companies have people who sit there and weigh the risks, determine if there should be waivers or if there should be an increase in premiums, how this should be handled. And Lloyd's of London says, we're opting out. We can't do it. It's too high a risk.
That is a major development. How long before every insurance company says that?
Well, as I said, because Lloyd's is one of the largest in the world, most insurance companies will look at what Lloyd's is doing and will copy it. They'll say, if Lloyd's isn't doing this, we certainly shouldn't be doing it either. It's a very high risk because you've got people, being exposed to this for, the last 10 or 15 years at very high levels, and the health effects haven't really been seen as strongly as they will be. All the scientists are predicting, within the next few years, you're going to be seeing more brain tumors. You're going to be seeing more cancers. You're going to be seeing children who are made ill. You're going to be seeing fertility problems. And these are all going to be, determined. Scientists are going to keep a watch on it, and they're going to be able to determine what the causation is. And they're going to say, the cause of this is microwave radiation. And then they're going to go after the companies.
Who may not have any insurance, and they would rather declare bankruptcy than pay you.
Yep, that's right. That's what they do. Cell phone companies do. The cell phone companies, when they've got their cell transmitters on your property, they are immune. The federal government has told them that they cannot be sued because they are operating under Safety Code 6. But they don't protect the landowner. And what happens when the landowner gets sued? The cell company's going to walk away. They're going to say it's not our problem. It's yours. You signed this contract. You agreed to let us put it on your property. Don't come to us.
Wow. So the little guy, of course, will be the one who gets burned.
Yes, but this has been true now for about 10 years. You could not insure. The insurance companies followed Lloyd's, and I have not yet found an insurance company who would provide insurance for any health claims based upon a cell tower being put on your property. This was one of the first ones. This was one of the first waivers I saw. But now it's going further. And I think that when anybody, a hospital, a school, an individual, a farmer, is being approached by these cell phone companies, that's one of the first questions that they should ask, and one of the first things that people should be telling the individual. You have no insurance. You will be held liable.
So your very first question should be, does insurance cover this?
And give me a copy of your insurance policy. Don't accept their word, because they don't have insurance. I can tell you they don't. The government has relieved them of any responsibility, so they have no reason to have insurance for it.
Those are all very interesting points. Because, new court rulings have said boards of directors can be held personally responsible for actions that the company has taken, even though maybe they didn't specifically approve or disapprove of it.
That's right. And this applies all the way down. I think that this would be something that a school board especially would be very concerned with. The school board is given the responsibility to act as a parent, in parentis locus. They're supposed to act and be as concerned about the welfare of the children as a parent would be. Yet school boards are ignoring the science. We don't know why. They're allowing Wi-Fi to be brought in. Wi-Fi is slower. Wi-Fi is more hackable. Wi-Fi is, the data is so much more scattered. I have had people tell me that once they brought Wi-Fi in, they had to hire more IT people because it was so slow, and the teachers and students complained about it. They couldn't get the data. Yet school boards are bringing this in. Somebody's making money somewhere. I wish we could follow the money, but since we're not able to follow the money, we should be then saying, we're holding you responsible. Here are the scientific reports. Here's the scientific evidence, and we are going to hold you responsible. If my child gets cancer, if my child has migraines, if my child is unable to come to school because of Wi-Fi, I'm going to be suing you personally. I think that this is what's going to happen, and I think it should happen. I think the school board should be held responsible, and I think most school boards would want to be held responsible. They care for the children, and they care for the welfare of the teachers. But for some reason, they have been told by the IT people, by the principals, by Terry Kendall, that this information isn't real. This information is real. And there's so much more of it each day that's coming out. They cannot just ignore it anymore.
Well, I can see why Lloyd's would be concerned, because much of the research done into microwave radiation has been done in Great Britain.
Lloyd's operates all over the world. They are an international company. In fact, the person who sent me the waiver has his company right here in British Columbia, and his insurer is Lloyd's, and he sent me his policy.
And that's what the policy says. It won't cover wireless damage.
That's right. In fact, the waiver is on our website. If people want to go in and see it, they can see it.
And what's happening with the class action lawsuit?
The class action lawsuit is coming along. Our lawyer will be before the judge on April 27th is the date it starts, and we are charging that BC Hydro is ignoring our charter rights to not be threatened with something dangerous in our home, to be forced to have something that we consider dangerous to be put on our home. And we are asking for the fees that people are paying to be repaid, and we're asking for the opportunity for everyone to have a choice, not just those people who, as of July of 2013, still had their analogs, when Bennett said, yeah, we'll give everybody a choice, but only those who still have their analogs, and only those who don't move to another place, or have a husband die and you have to change your name in the account, or things like that. No, those people don't have a choice. So we are saying we believe everybody should have a choice of what they have on their home, and you shouldn't have to pay not to be harmed.
We'll have more with Sharon Noble right after this.
More and more people are looking to the internet for intelligent, riveting, and thought-provoking interviews. To advertise on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com, call 604-699-8600, 604-699-8600.
In Goddard we trust.
Welcome back. We're speaking to Sharon Noble, director of the BC Coalition to Stop Smart Meters. Some of the latest research is now showing that low-level pulsing high-frequency radio waves can actually encourage the growth of tumors. However, they have minimum standards when it comes to microwaves and the use of devices like the smart meter. Everybody thinks the higher the radiation level, the bigger the threat, yet we're finding that that's not exactly the case, at least in some cases. Can you maybe explain?
That's correct. In fact, many scientists for the last decade or so have suspected that there are windows in the frequencies where certain frequencies at certain powers are more dangerous than other frequencies at higher powers. And recent studies, a very recent one by a German researcher called Lurchel, has confirmed something that was a study that was done about 10 years ago that showed that very low levels of pulsing radiation, of pulsing radio frequencies in the range of cell phones, Wi-Fi, and smart meters can exacerbate tumors that are already there, can hinder treatments that are being given, and can encourage growth of tumors. And what is very significant is not only this is replication of an earlier study, but Professor Lurchel has been a denier. We have argued, well, not we, I've read his research and I've been upset by it because he has refused to acknowledge that there are health effects. And this is the first time he has done research and has come up with the effect and the conclusion that, yes, there is something dangerous going on here. And he's very concerned about it. He said that he went into this believing that he would prove that this study, in, I think it was in 2005, was wrong. And he was flabbergasted, and he did it twice. And both times he came up with the very same result.
Well, that's the best kind of scientist, a skeptical guy.
Yeah, and we, in the past, most of us figured that he was like many of them, and he was working for the industry. I'm not saying he wasn't. I think that many of the scientists may honestly have believed that the health effects were not all that bad. There may have been some that wasn't all that bad. Some of them seem to be leaning back a little bit more and taking another look. And Dr. Lurchel appears, at least in this particular instance, to be doing that, and it's very significant.
Now, do you think other scientists are going to re-examine some studies that found this, and they just dismissed it out of hand?
I don't know. One of the problems is that many of the studies can't be exactly replicated. You look at, there are so many factors, what type of cells they used, what the temperature was, all this other stuff. And sometimes, and many times, the studies are replicated, and they're discounted. For instance, Health Canada discounts the replication and says that maybe this study wasn't done well enough, even though it is duplicating something that was done by another scientist and it reaches the same conclusions. They've chosen to say it's not good enough. So it's what's very frustrating is that in 2011, when the World Health Organization classified radiofrequency radiation as a 2B carcinogen, which is a possible carcinogen, They did it because they believe that there are enough studies, enough evidence to show that there is a cancer-causing agent. Now, cancer is just one of the problems that are result from this exposure. But they said, yes, there is evidence that cancer can be produced, but they couldn't understand why. So they were looking for causation, which really many scientists were arguing against. This is a carcinogen. We know it is. Just because we don't know why doesn't mean that it should be called possible. Many scientists have been arguing for years that it should be called a full carcinogen, just like smoking and everything else, asbestos. Now the causation has been shown. In the last 5 years or so, there have been many studies that have been dedicated to trying to figure out why this is happening. They've concluded that, for instance, the cell walls are weakened by the stress. The pulsing radiation causes the cell walls to weaken and to leak. And by leaking, the various materials, for instance, calcium, is required in our cells to maintain a balance. That's why good things can stay in our cells and bad things don't go into our cells. The cells are protected. But if the cell walls leak, then bad stuff can get in and good stuff can leak out, and that can lead to mutations. It can cause things in the cells happening that shouldn't be happening. And they figured out that stress, this constant pulsing, is a very significant agent. And now this recent study has confirmed that seems to be, even with very, very low levels, way lower than what Health Canada would even consider. It's the level along like a smart meter or a cell phone or Wi-Fi.
Is one of the reasons why they don't really want to research a lot of this in North America is that billions of dollars are tied up in the industry involving Wi-Fi?
That's my guess, but it's only a guess. I mean, why else would they be ignoring the precautionary principle? And we've been asking, many of us have been asking for the last 10 years, let's employ the precautionary principle. We know that there's a good chance that this stuff is dangerous, and we're exposing our children to this. We don't know what it's going to be doing to future generations. The least we should be doing is saying, no, hey, we don't know it's safe. We know there's a possibility it's dangerous. Let's not do it. But they've just gone holus bolus. As Martin Blank says, we are being the guinea pigs. And maybe 10 years, 15 years down the road, we will discover that the mutations are so bad that there are going to be permanent problems in future generations, maybe infertility, as many of the studies are showing now, and we can't fix it.
Sharon, is there any website somebody could go to or websites to find out more about the issue, about why people are so concerned about smart meters?
Yes, there are several websites. One is our coalition website is www.stopsmartmetersbc.com, and the other one is www.citizensforsafetechnology.org. And if they go to the coalition site, they'll be able to read some of the most recent things that have been happening about fires, which is quite disturbing.
I was just going to ask for a fire update.
My fire update. Well, Quebec firefighters are very concerned because they are having the same problem that we're having in British Columbia, where the utility companies are taking the meters away from the scenes of the fire, and they're not being investigated. They're not being inspected. The firefighters have written a long document, a letter, and they put it out publicly, being very upset about this, and I'm hoping that some of the firefighters here in British Columbia will do the same thing. I have found in several reports just a casual statement that they couldn't look at the meter because it was gone by the time the inspector got there. This is illegal. No fire scene is supposed to be messed with until the inspectors had a chance to do his work. And when I wrote to BC Hydro, I was told that they haven't done this because there's no smart meters ever been involved in a fire. Yet I have on the record, in fact, it was a Global or CTV TV shot. It was a news station that showed that there was a fire in Vernon, and the meter had been taken, and Hydro said that they had taken it to inspect in their lab. But I have a letter from Hydro saying that no inspection has ever been done because none has ever failed. So what's happening with these meters? Who's looking at them? And when I wrote Hydro, they refused to give me an answer. I want to know who is inspecting the meters that have failed. I have lists and lists and lists of failed meters. What's happening with them? Who's looking at them? And Hydro will not say. Hydro is continuing to disregard Freedom of Information requests. I've been asking for reports on many failed fires, and they won't give me the information. They tell me that it's private when I ask what information or what equipment failed, because a lot of fire reports just say electrical distribution equipment failed. And according to the fire commissioner and to Len Garris, who wrote a report that was paid for by Hydro, he said that whenever it says electrical distribution fire, you know that it's going to be the meter. Well, I've got lots of them. And when I ask Hydro for an explanation of what electrical equipment was involved, they tell me it's personal, it's private and protected by the Freedom of Information section, and they won't give it to me.
Well, whose privacy would be violated if they revealed that?
Hydro's. One of the sections that they're quoting to me says that they say that no information has to be provided if it could endanger the financial stability of a company.
Well, they've spent how many billions on this?
Yep. And we have a right to know how our money is being spent. If our money is being spent to put a fire hazard on our home, or if money is being spent to pay for damages that have been done, if fire is being spent to pay for insurance claims, we have a right to know because that's our money that's being spent. And Hydro is refusing to tell me. I put in many, many Freedom of Information requests, and they're refusing. And I've gone to the Privacy Commissioner, and when Hydro says they won't provide it, she says, well, you've got your answer. So I'm going to have to go back to the Privacy Commissioner and do some pushing. I've been doing it, but not successfully. But I think this is something we all deserve to be concerned with.
What about the provincial ombudsman?
She doesn't do anything either. I haven't been able to find any agency that will help at this point. I'm also trying to get the Auditor General involved. The Auditor General is supposed to be looking out for our financial welfare, and I believe that BC Hydro is misusing our money. And this is her job. She should be looking into this program and see how our money is spent or misspent. It's very disconcerting and frustrating, Jim, because no agency has oversight. I remember telling you this maybe a year ago, that one of the problems with the smart meter program is no agency is allowed to have oversight. BC Utilities Commission has been told it cannot have oversight. The BC Safety Authority, who's responsible for looking at electrical problems, is told it cannot get involved. And I suspect the Privacy Commissioner and the Ombudsman may very well have been told the same thing. I don't know that, but it's sure looking that way because I can't get answers from anybody. And it's going to take a hue and cry from the public, I think, to say this is totally wrong. And yet Hydro is continuing to go on its merry way. Last week, it shut off the power in a Montessori school because the teachers and the parents there did not want a smart meter. So they cut the power off at the school. They're going around with a heavy hand, and they're answering to nobody.
Well, Sharon, we hit a lot of territory here. Glad to talk to you again.
Very nice to talk with you, Jim.
And again, maybe give us your website. Our
website's www.stopsmartmetersbc.com and www.citizensforsafetechnology.org. And if anyone wants to get updates, there are newsletters on our website that I prepare every night. People can check in there and read them and see what's going on.
Thank you very much for chatting with us.
Thank you very much, Jim. I appreciate it.
My guest has been Sharon Noble, Director of the BC Coalition to Stop Smart Meters. You're listening to the Goddard Report on TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet, or check out our popular YouTube channel, Talk Digital Network. Comments or questions for the show can be sent to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.